Even though it's a dream for many mountaineers to conquer this giant, many of the would-be summiters end up dying on the slopes. In fact, Mount Everest is claiming many lives every year. But why? In this video, we'll discuss just that, the truth about why people keep dying on Mount Everest. In 2019, the last true climbing season, 11 climbers died on the mountains. In 2014, 16 people perished, while another 22 died in 2015. Everest in Nepal is one of the most dangerous mountains to climb. It has the 6th highest fatality rate, coming in around 14%. The death rate is incredibly high compared to other summits. For instance, the death rate among climbers on Denali from 1903 to 2006 was only about 0.03%, while on Cho Oyo, an 8,200-meter peak in the Himalayas near Mount Everest, had a death rate of 0.65%. So why does Everest have such a high fatality rate? Well, it comes down to several different factors. Most people who die on Everest are killed in avalanches, making it the #1 cause of death. Another leading cause of death on the mountain is exposure or frostbite, accounting for around 11% of fatalities. Other causes of death include falling ice, rope accidents, pneumonia, or even drowning. Now, I know drowning seems like a crazy way to die on Everest, but what happens is people begin suffering from HAPE, high altitude pulmonary edema. Although the precise mechanism has not been explained, essentially, what happens is fluid accumulates in the lungs and prevents the absorption of oxygen after the pulmonary capillaries have constricted. Untreated, the condition can be fatal as victims eventually drown on their own fluids. The risks are severe on the way up the mountain, but surprisingly, more people die on the way down from the summit than on the way up. Additionally, route preparation is one of the most dangerous activities on the mountains as well. A total of 120 people have died while working on the routes, with a handful more dying at base camp, en route to base camp, or during evacuation. Traffic jams on the mountain are also becoming a real problem. In a strange and unexpected development, modern Everest has become something of a tourist trap. On the perfect climbing day, you might encounter hundreds of other climbers, all trying to reach the exact same spot. So now, much like your favorite theme park, you have to wait in line. The difference is, if you stand too long in line at a theme park, the only pain and suffering you'll experience is the endless whining of your children. However, if you wait too long in line at Mount Everest, you might run out of oxygen and die. This is because when it comes to the death zone of Everest, at about 8,000 meters, or around 26,000 feet, there's simply not enough oxygen in the atmosphere to sustain the human body. Climbers without supplemental oxygen can only survive for a limited time before their bodies succumb to the impossible condition. Another significant cause of death on Everest is altitude sickness, which claimed the lives of 52 climbers between 1921 and 2006. Severe altitude sickness comes in two forms on Everest: high-altitude pulmonary edema, or HAPE, in which a climber's lungs fill with fluid, and high-altitude cerebral edema, or HACE, in which a climber's cranium fills with fluid. In either case, the only treatment is rapidly descending to base camp and taking a helicopter out of the mountains to a lower elevation. You might think climbing Mount Everest requires a lot of experience and skill. However, the Nepalese government issued a record number of 381 permits in 2019 and announced no intention of scaling back, despite seeing the highest death toll since 2015. There are no official physical requirements for climbing permits, and some of the adventure outfits operating in Nepal are less than strict about who they'll take to the summit. That means more inexperienced climbers on the mountain, which means more danger for everyone. Another problem is the limited window of opportunity to climb the mountain. You can only really climb Everest during May, in a very short window between the winter storm and the summer monsoon season. However, even during this time, the weather is unpredictable and can be extremely dangerous. The last 4,000 feet of the climb is called the death zone because there's not enough air for the human body to continue functioning. Once you reach about 25,000 feet, your body just can't metabolize the oxygen. Your muscles start to break down, and your brain starts to swell. So while Mount Everest is more accessible than ever, and more climbers are reaching the summit than ever before, it's still an incredibly dangerous mountain. At least several climbers die on the mountain every season, and the death rate among climbers on Everest is much higher than among climbers on similar peaks. With the continued commercialization of the mountain, and the greater accessibility to would-be climbers, summiting Everest is becoming an activity for the rich, which anyone can do as long as they can flip the bill. However, this means inexperienced climbers, people that are not physically fit, or people that are not ready or have no experience climbing mountains in the past are going to make a push for the summit. This doesn't just mean danger for them, but everyone around them as well as their group. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what surprised you about why so many people are dying on Everest.